Here's why you feel like an imposter even when you're not. I'm going to share with you what 99% of senior leaders are getting wrong about imposter syndrome. Here's what I know for sure. You can be running a division, owning a P&L, leading a transformation, and still walk into a boardroom thinking, any minute now, they're going to realize that I have actually no idea what I'm doing. This is imposter syndrome and imposter thinking. And you don't have these thoughts because you lack competence. You have these thoughts because your brain has practiced that script. This is the neuroscience of what's actually happening with imposter syndrome. Your brain doesn't care whether a thought is true. It believes exactly whatever it is that you repeat. And it learns through that repetition. So every time you think, I'm not as capable as they think I am, then you strengthen that neural pathway. Every time you repeat, I got lucky, or I'm behind, or I shouldn't be here, your brain wires that circuit a little bit more tightly. So neuroplasticity isn't neutral. It doesn't rewire based on evidence or what's real or accurate. It rewires your brain based on practice. So if you've been mentally rehearsing self-doubt and imposter syndrome for the past 10 years, then it is going to feel very real for you. And everywhere you go, every time you level up, you will experience it and it will feel very convincing. It will feel like the truth, but it's just your brain's wiring. So here's why this matters for leadership, because when you're up-leveling and going into a new role, going maybe into a larger organization, the responsibility is going to be higher. Your brain will naturally feel like the stakes are higher, and then those imposter thoughts are going to get louder. So in my RAFT formula, we look at 4 elements, and I'm going to share that with you right here. We look at results, actions, feelings, and thoughts. And the formula actually works from the bottom up. So we know that your thoughts drive your feelings drive your actions, and your actions drive your results. So if the thought is, I don't really belong at this level, what do you think the feeling then you will create will be? Usually it's something like anxiety or apprehension, sometimes dread, nervousness, worry. And then from those emotions, what are the actions that normally follow? Well, normally it's things like avoidance of bold situations or conversations. Sometimes it also shows up as over-preparing, or in the meeting you might over-explain. You might just play safe overall. Maybe you don't delegate as much because you need to prove yourself, right? And then when you take those actions, what do you think the results are? Well, you just reinforce the identity of someone who is not able to be in that room and to lead at that level. And then your brain goes, see, you're just about holding it all together. So that neural pathway is again strengthened. Now let's flip it for a second. Same leader, same capability, and I want you to think about if you're thinking a different thought, like, I'm learning at this level, and this is exactly what's supposed to happen. Whatever's happening, you just tell yourself this is exactly what's supposed to happen, because generally it is. We're all dealing with uncertainty, and all of that stuff is exactly as it's supposed to happen. When you think that thought, what feeling does that create? Well, maybe it's a bit more groundedness, more curiosity, more calm, more of that, nervous excitement when we're learning something new. And from there, the actions change. Then from that energy, you ask sharper questions. You maybe tolerate silence more. You maybe tolerate questions more from the board. You delegate properly. You make decisions without needing to apologize for them or over-explain them. And the result is you show up with stronger leadership. You get more team ownership. You offer more clear direction, and you actually create more strategic impact in your organization. You can have the same external circumstances, but a very different internal narrative. This is the part that most leaders underestimate. Imposter syndrome is rarely about evidence. It's about repetition. What are you repeating in your mind? Your brain loves that familiarity because familiar equals safe. So if self-doubt has been your long-standing companion, it's going to default there. Even after you've been promoted, even after you've had so much success in your life, even after you get the praise, you'll know this, right? You get the praise and then you're like, well, why do I still feel this way? So here's something that you can practice immediately. Next time you notice an imposter thought, don't argue with it. Instead, run it through the RAFT formula. Identify the thought clearly, not vaguely, but very specifically. What is it? So is it, I'm not ready for this, or I'm going to be exposed, or they're better than me? Then step 2, ask yourself, if I keep rehearsing and repeating this thought for the next year, what are the results that it will create? Be brutally honest. Is it going to expand you? Or is it going to shrink you? Is it going to feel good? What actions will you take from there? And then step 3, choose a thought that is more useful. Not fake confidence, please, not delusion, but something that you can really believe. For example, instead of thinking, I'm going to be exposed, try, everyone at this level is figuring things out. Because really, that's the truth. Instead of thinking, I'm not ready, try thinking, growth always feels like this. It always feels like you're not ready, right? We're never really ready. Instead of thinking, they're better than me, try thinking, I'm building my skills every single day. And then rehearse that thought deliberately before you go into board meetings or conversations, before your presentations, before you begin your day. Because repetition is what rewires your brain. You can't control the first thought. It is going to pop into your mind. That's just the old conditioning that's firing automatically. But you can absolutely control what becomes your most repeated thought. And that's where intentional leadership is built. That's how you overcome this feeling of imposter syndrome and self-doubt. Because the quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your feelings determine your behavior under pressure, and your behavior determines your results. And then your results will reinforce the identity that you have for yourself over time. Just a quick side note. I heard this quote once. Actually, it was from my old CrossFit coach. He said, you don't rise to the level of your potential, you rise to the level of your training. And that's exactly what this is. Under pressure, you don't suddenly access your best self because you want to. You're going to default to what you've practiced most, mentally and emotionally. So practicing this internal narrative of self-confidence, that's what this is all about. And if you feel like an imposter sometimes, the question is not, what's wrong with me? The better question is, what have I actually been rehearsing and repeating in my mind that makes me feel this way? Because your brain does not care whether it's true, it cares how often you think it. I'm repeating that intentionally so that you realize this is all about repetition. This is what's been either quietly undermining your leadership or what's been building it. If this resonated for you and you recognize some of these thoughts in your own head, this is exactly the work that I do with senior C-suite leaders every week. I'm your executive coach. And on this channel, we are going to go deep into leadership, confidence, decision-making, and how to think at the level that your role actually demands. So if you want practical tools grounded in neuroscience and behavioral psychology, not just surface level motivation, then subscribe and follow. And if there's a specific leadership challenge that you're navigating right now, just drop it in the comments. I will read them, and I often create future episodes based on what you're facing in real time. See you in the next one. Welcome to Your Executive Coach. This is where we talk about what's really going on at the top. The pressure, the politics, the decision fatigue, the confidence wobbles, and being the person everyone looks to when things get uncertain. I'm Therese Reichenberg, your executive coach. Stick with me as we lead the next chapter of work to help you become a future-ready leader. You're in the right place.